Are you concerned about the overheating in the Canon EOS R5 and R6? Are you waiting for Canon to address the concern in detail, or waiting for reviews? Well, Canon just issued a news release addressing the affected resolutions and frame rates for both the R5 and the R6. Let's get into it. Hi, I'm Simon. Welcome to The Ordinary Filmmaker. If you're new here, subscribe to get notification of new videos like this one so you don't miss any news. And all the links to everything I talk about in this video, including any gear discussed, are placed in the description down below. But before I get into today's topic, just a reminder that I'm still giving away this Canon EF 50mm f1.8 lens. Contest ends July 31st. Subscribe to my channel for your chance to win. That's it. I do have more details in the description down below, or you can watch this video here. Now on to today's topic. Canon's been listening to our concerns about overheating in the Canon EOS R5 and R6. They responded in a news release that said the EOS R5 offers class-leading autofocus with high resolution and high frame rate video recording options using the maximum width of the full-frame sensor at high bit rates. Inevitably, this combination of features has the potential to generate some significant heat, which will limit recording time. And to give Canon credit, they have given us a full-frame sensor readout instead of cropped video like they've done in the past. But even when the R5 isn't providing 8K oversampling, they're going with 2x2 binning, which provides better quality than cropped video. Nonetheless, Canon admits there is an overheating concern, and we've all known that. What we didn't know was why and which modes were affected. Canon knew early on in the architecture design phase that the camera would overheat in some modes, but not all. Many of us asked why they didn't provide a fan or a heat sink or this or that. Well, Canon did here, and they partly addressed that by saying that the decision not to include a fan within the body was made in order to maintain the EOS R's compact size, lightweight construction, and weather resistance. And I get the weather resistance capability. I guess when you allow customers to change out storage devices themselves, and yes, I'm thinking of Apple here, it's very difficult to protect the device from the elements. And Canon knew this going into the whole design phase and the construction. They knew it was going to be an issue. So they architected the camera to minimize heat buildup, and this is how they did that. Magnesium alloy was used in the body to dissipate heat away from internal components and provided an overheat control function to reduce heat generation when the camera is in standby mode. Okay, so we understand more about why Canon architected the EOS R5 and R6 the way they did. It just looks like Sony may have taken a different route, as recent rumors claim unlimited record times with no overheating, although that has yet to be confirmed. But the best part of Canon's news release is this chart showing all 4K and 8K resolutions and frame rates, approximate recording time before overheating, if overheating is a concern in any given mode, and the recommended use case for each mode. Now I'll take you through each video resolution and frame rate in a moment, but I want you to keep in mind that this chart, according to Canon, is based on the ambient temperature, the temperature at which the camera is operating, and that is based on 23 degrees Celsius or 73 degrees Fahrenheit. So taking a look at the EOS R5, we have 8K 30, 4K 120, 4K 60, and 4K 30. Let's take a look at the first resolution and frame rate, and that's 8K, 24, 25, and 30 frames per second. I know it only shows 30, that's the maximum basic frame rate, but it does include 24, 25, and 30. We have two options here, full sensor width and full sensor width with RAW. Now both of these are limited to 20 minutes of recording. Now if you've already been using your camera for some work, you might not even get that 20 minutes. So where would we use this? Is this going to be for 8K productions? Well, yes and no. As a supporting camera, but not as the main camera. It would also be used for 4K productions as well. And this still offers a lot of power. I can think of one scenario where this is going to be an amazing camera. Drone use. The EOS R5 is a lightweight camera. You can easily attach this to drones, and most drones have a limited flying time of somewhere between 20 and 30 minutes. And even though some of them have slightly higher amounts, you don't trust these things being out there for the full amount of time. And I have a drone. Most of the times I will capture anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes of flight time. So this is a perfect example for that. But again, using as supporting cameras in other productions, for example, I like watching the TV show The Grand Tour or Top Gear. And to have these cameras in car providing you with high detailed 8K or even downsampled 8K video would be very, very useful. The next resolution and frame rate is the very popular 4K 120. Now 4K 120 is all about slow motion. That's where Canon expects this to be used in short bursts, no more than a minute or two at most, but you can get up to 15 minutes, which is quite impressive. Now for me, I rarely shoot more than about 10, 15, or 20 seconds of this, because when you realize, well, you multiply that by 4, 15 seconds is a minute, and I very rarely in my videos will have a minute of continuous slow motion. It's usually no more than about 5 seconds when I'm done editing. Now the next resolution frame rate is 4K 60. We get two options, full sensor width and APS-C crop at 5.1K oversampled. The minimum recording time, or the maximum recording time I should say, for the full sensor width is 35 minutes. And there's an asterisk there, and the reason why it is, you can shoot 30 minutes, then the camera stops, and you get another 5 minutes before the mandatory cooldown period. In the APS-C crop, you only get 25 minutes. So where would you use this? Well, it depends on your shooting style. Some people love to shoot in 60 frames per second. I know that Gregg loves to shoot his live streams in 1080-60. So if you were going to be shooting video, if you like shooting content at 60 frames per second, and your videos are anywhere from 20 minutes to 30 minutes, you're probably going to have problems with 4K 60 unless you buy multiple cameras, and that's an expensive proposition. So if you're looking at short bursts of 4K 60, this wouldn't be a problem, but I think for any longer videos, you're going to have problems with 4K 60. Now this last option is going to be the most popular for most people, 4K 30, which also includes 24 and 25 frames per second. We have three different options here. We have the full sensor width, we have the APS-C crop with 5.1K oversampled, and we have the full sensor width, high quality 8.2K oversampling. And this option here is also reported in the manual as being 4K HQ or 4K fine. And what you're doing is you're reading all the information directly off the sensor and in camera converting it into a 4K file. Now personally, I love this option. A lot of my run and gun stuff, I'm literally shooting clips of no more than about 10 seconds to maybe a minute or two at most. Even when I'm shooting birthday parties, you're getting different angles, I'll start, stop. I don't think that the 30-minute record time before cooldown here is going to be an issue for this type of work. To be able to get all that detail, take that 8K and downsample it down to 4K is going to be terrific. And still, I have a lot of clients that don't even request 4K. Most of them want 1080p, but they like to have that detail there. So in 4K 30, there absolutely is no time limit once you get out of the 8K downsample. Now those other two modes, they provide you with 2x2 pixel binning, which is a lot better than just cropping. So we're still getting better quality than we did in the past. So for a lot of the work I do, if I'm shooting the Q&A videos, which I do every weekend, if I'm doing in-depth reviews that run 60 minutes, quite often it'll take twice as much to shoot to actually get to 30 minutes. So a 30-minute video might take 60 minutes worth of shooting. So that's really good news. 4K 30 is definitely usable on the R5. So what does Canon say about this? Well, pretty much the same thing that I'm saying, that if you want to do interviews or anything like that, then yes, you want to use the 4K 30 that isn't using 8K downsampling. But if you want that extra detail in 4K, well, you're going to use 4K HQ and that high quality mode, and you're going to be limited to 30 minutes. So if you're going to be shooting videos and all that sort of stuff, just use the regular 4K 30 modes. Don't use the high quality modes. Now, while all this concern over overheating has been going on, it's all been in reference to the R5. We thought that, well, the R6 is fine. No one has mentioned, Peter McKinnon hasn't mentioned anything. None of the other ambassadors have mentioned anything. Canon hasn't mentioned anything regarding any overheating concerns with the EOS R6. Well, let's take a look at the chart one more time. We can see that we have two resolutions and frame rates here, the 4K 60, but we also have the 4K 24, 25, and 30. So let's take a look at that first one. We do get 94% sensor width. This is not full sensor here. There is a crop of about 1.7, but it does provide 5.K oversampling with pixel binning. It is limited to 30 minutes, just like in the R5. So we have the same limits in the R6 as we do in the R5 for 4K 60. Now let's take a look at 4K 30, and this is where I'm really quite surprised. So again, you're only getting the crop of 1.06, but it's still from 5.1K oversampling, and it's using 2x2 pixel binning. But the surprise here is it's limited to 40 minutes of record time. Now this is a general purpose mode. Now again, I understand that 40 minutes for a lot of people, for most ordinary filmmakers and photographers, isn't going to be a problem. 40 minutes, that's going to be more than enough. If you're doing interviews and meetings, yes, this is going to be a problem. If you're a YouTube personality such as myself, it's definitely going to be a problem. Every week I shoot a Q&A video outside, and generally it takes about 60, 70 minutes of record time. I couldn't use this camera for that if I was shooting 4K 30. But I could use the R5. The R5 has 2 modes where I can shoot 4K 30, and there's no limitation by heat. I sense a bit of a push up to the more expensive R5 in that situation. So if I'm going to be getting a Canon R5 or R6, I'm pretty much being pushed into the R5. I really don't like these constraints. Now, obviously in 1080, we're not going to have these problems, but I really wish we wouldn't have a 4K limit. If 4K 30 on the R6 had no limitation here, we could, same as the R5, I don't think there'd be a problem. So for those of you that are looking at buying the R6, or maybe that have pre-ordered this, is this a concern for you? Does 4K 30 maximum record time before cooldown of 40 minutes bother you? Tell me what you think in the comment section down below. But that's all I have for you today. Thanks for watching The Ordinary Filmmaker. Don't forget to subscribe for your chance to win this 50mm f1.8 lens. We'll see you again soon.